Alrighty, I got 6 o'clock. We all join pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, anybody in TV land? No. Welcome, Rich.
Rich, this is your meeting.
Sure. Is there anybody up here you don't know that I can introduce you to?
I think I met everybody last time.
Okay, well, then I'll forego introductions. Rich, you know the exits are here,
Yes.
should we have a problem? And I'll get to you in just a second. Let me just take care of some SOP stuff. Yay, privilege of the floor. No one. There's no legal notices to publish since this is a continuation. We have a continuation of an existing hearing. So let's move right on to that. Let me real quick, Rich. I want to reopen CPN 22051 Marathon Engineers, care of Matt Tomlinson, Cascade Drive in Rochester, representing Theodore Shepard and Lorene Burke, owners of property 5007 and 5009 County Route 16, who were requesting or are requesting a single stage site plan approval and a lot line adjustment for the construction of a new single family residence. And they did get their initial variances from the ZBA, but they have to go back to the ZBA. As those of you remember, we discussed the stream setback, and you want to tell us what's
Sure.
your investigation?
Yes, so Bob noticed that it was off site, the stream. And Chris and I went out there and it was running quite nicely.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's got a nice bridge over it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is definitely
Okay.
considered to be a stream of significance, which is not in our code, but it's definitely got water more than 6 months a year.
Yes, under our
So-
current codes, still stands that,
So
The 6
yeah,
month
6
rule
months is the rule.
applies. So I was scratching my head, if you recall at the meeting, about whether it could change the Class C stream. We discussed it. Now, you may have been with us when that happened. I don't know, it was 2020. But anyway, John was able to pull up the abstracts on when we discussed it, and we did discuss it. And we recommended that it be changed to a Class C stream rather than the 6 month flow duration, to make it much easier to try to figure out if it was a stream that required a setback. And that went no further than this board.
Mhm.
So it never went to town board, and I don't think back to ordinance committee.
If it went to ordinance, it was
It was
free. It wasn't
well,
patched over.
Like I said, between COVID
Yeah, I think it
and
hit at the
everything,
wrong time.
I think it got lost in the
Yeah.
mix. So hopefully it'll get resurrected. The ordinance committee will relook at it. And I think it will make it easier for staff to determine if a setback is required. So that'll be coming in the future. So all that being said, Mr. Shepherd and Ms. Burke have to go back to the ZBA for a adjudication on the setback from the stream. And that'll occur October 18th. So therefore, we cannot even discuss it until the 25th of October. In any details, so I would ask for a motion to continue the hearing to the 25th of October. Your resolution?
Do we
Yeah,
have
so I've up, the resolution will need to be updated, so the fourth paragraph down.
Yep.
Will state, instead of September 27th, they'll state October 18th, which is a reflection of the ZBA meeting. And then the continuation would go to October 25th.
Okay.
I had originally done this prior to knowing that the application was not in for that.
Okay, so they'll be pushed off for a month and a half.
So
So-
we'll change the agenda. We're planning, or we started to work.
Oh, on
agenda
the-
for- Yeah,
Next.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a
So
motion.
moved. Yes. I'll
I'll-
make that motion.
I'll second.
Second from Scott. further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. 18. Or 25th. See, I had a nice video of that. Okay, moving down to new site plans, we have another representative of Marathon Engineering. In this case, Rich Sheedy, representing that S&J Morel Builders on a property regarding a property at lot 950 and lot 951, Harbor Hill Trail in the Lakewood subdivision, section 9D, requested an amended site plan for the elevation of the two lots at, well, that's not 1,036. Is that 1,036?
An elevation.
It's a foot and a half, Justin. Right?
Correct.
Maybe it is 1,000.
It is.
Okay,
Mhm.
just look, never seen 1,000 elevation in their frequency. So they were off by a foot and a half, so they're in to see us and explain why it happened and what they did to rectify it. So Rich, or,
Actually.
Nate from
Nate?
Yeah.
okay, one of you,
Should I?
let us know what happened. Come to the podium, please. Yes. Name and address, please.
Nate Jenny, Morel Builders. It's for Victor Road.
Okay.
So in this particular building, we, at the time of excavation, we ran into some unexpected water issues. So we did raise it a little bit.
Surface or subsurface?
Subsurface. So we did raise it enough to where we were comfortable that we've minimized the amount of water that we saw at that point. So still now, the sump pump runs a little more often than you'd like it to. But it was just felt, it wasn't intended, but it was a field call that was made given the circumstances of that basement excavation.
So as a result of raising it a foot and a half, you had to reconsider the grading around the outside of the building?
It didn't have any significant impact on the grading, ever so slight. We were still achieving the proper drainage patterns in this area. And spoken to one homeowner recently, they're very happy with their situation.
So are you showing here as builts or are these proposed?
That
Yes.
is the instrument survey.
That's the survey, man.
Okay, so that's the way it is today out there.
Correct.
And did it vary much, Rich, from what you originally proposed?
No, all the
They said it
drainage,
didn't, but,
all the drainage patterns are as we originally intended. Everything still works the same. It fits in nicely with the neighboring houses. There's no real major impacts that I noticed out there.
Have there been any neighbor complaints or concerns on any drainage issues? I know we've seen this in other instances where the elevation was different as planned, but
No.
no signs, then no news is good news. then,
Yeah,
right?
the lot falls off nicely. There's some decent elevation already, and so, yeah, that has not been a concern that's come up.
the lot was posted, right? And also, I guess the neighbors got notices, right, in the meeting? Sean?
They did, and the owner, I'm not sure which homeowner, which person, he just moved in. Because he wasn't sure what was going on, but he said he was gonna talk to you. I
Okay.
can't remember his name.
Okay.
Most of the
That
time,
was when we first put the sign out, so, yeah.
I was gonna say, most of the time when we've seen issues on this, on the single family home side, the elevation change has created like a side yard swale issue.
Mhm.
But as mentioned by Marathon, because of the pitch that they naturally had in this location, the grading didn't really change significant enough where you would see what we're typically concerned with, which is when you raise the house, you're creating a much steeper side yard swale scenario, but because everything sheets to the back, we didn't have that scenario here.
How about the driveway slope?
The driveway slope is what we looked at, but I think they, based on what we measured, it didn't require some modification to be done up front.
Are the units occupied, the homeowners are in? Okay, well, the fact that they're not here, that's good news. Because it's the other thing, we usually have the homeowner here and say, oh, yeah, we left it with this and that.
The ones
All in
being
my
built
backyard.
prior to those, no problems there.
Right.
Water.
No issues.
How was the
So-
problem identified?
Say that again?
How was the problem, the error identified, the deviation, how was it identified?
When the final survey was done.
Yeah, with the as-built on the survey.
And there is some runoff control that's happening there now. I'm just curious as to why that's being done right now.
I mean, we've got the surface drainage is really taking care of any water that
Around the storm drain on this property, on the back side of it, which would be towards the house, there's runoff control that's in place that's being put there right now. So it's got, I think of it as the sponges that are used for when we had a hazardous material call in the fire department, that's leading from the house towards the storm drain. So it's got, they look like, yeah.
Yeah, like
So somebody's attempting to capture something, and I'm just curious as to what that is right now.
So,
Yeah, is it a silt sock? Is that what we're talking about? That's what I'm saying?
the bladders, there's
Yeah,
bladder
it's
things.
like a-
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
under, but it's
Yeah.
curves black, it's
Yeah,
right
it's-
by the drain, right? It
It's
curves,
like
right,
still
yeah.
under construction, correct?
Yeah,
So anytime it's under construction, we have perimeter,
It's still there.
or what we call temporary lot control mechanisms up in place to try to prevent runoff sediment from leaving the site as much as we
I mean,
can.
that piece I understand, that the silt fence and everything is not there. It's just.
These
around the
socks.
storm- the
Yeah,
socks are
That's an
missing,
improvement. It's a lot of times we see the socks used when it's adjacent to curbing in lieu of the silt fence, because the silt fence got to get tucked under. And so you're ripping those up, you're creating a disturbance above and beyond what we really need to do. So silt socks is an approved mechanism by DEC. They get used periodically at different locations, a lot of times on individual lot residential.
Just because of the smaller area, there isn't as much sediment burning towards them.
Yeah, I'm used to seeing both. So I'm used to seeing them there with the silt fences, but the rest of it looks like it's been done for a while and people living there, so.
If
that's why
they're
you know if
maintained
they're-
properly, then it should be okay, but it's, sometimes those silt socks get filled up or they start breaking apart and then it doesn't work as well.
Makes sense.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we've had this issue, obviously, as Amanda said, with other builders, and it may have happened where else a couple times. But we just like to see these things sort of nipped in the bud. That if you know there's going to be a grade elevation change and it's going to be more than the required amount of foot, boy, get in to see us before you have the home occupied and your neighbors next door. Because as I said, there's more people, more subjects involved when you have an occupied home and neighbors. So I know Chris is trying to monitor a little closer if elevations change, but if he doesn't know it's changed, it's just done unilaterally, then the building's got to let us know.
So I've had a lot of conversations with Scott and Jeff after this one was discovered. Yes, we were in last year, the year before, for some ones in the other section.
I said the same
They
speech.
implemented a process, and there have been several units that were built since that point with that process that have all gone without the problem. This one kind of slipped through the cracks. There's a field change that happened on the point. There was somebody went on vacation and the communication that raise happened didn't get back to our survey crew, so they checked that early on.
And I realize situations happen. I mean, field changes are normal.
Yep.
Just like to know if there's a change that you be aware of. Okay. All right, any other questions, board? Okay, so this is an amended site plan. Have a resolution from you prepared by Lance. You have 3 conditions, Lance.
I just put the standard ones for any plan. We had MRB's letter, Rich really just adding the signature line to the plans. Really, it wasn't anything significant and there weren't any other changes. And then I had put the code enforcement officer's comments, not knowing if he had anything additional that warranted his review. And then their standard 180 days.
Okay. Someone on the board wants to make a motion?
Sure, I will move that we approve with the following 3 conditions, CPN 22061. As presented.
Second.
A motion is second for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Walter. for going out.
Yeah, as long as they have a signature line. For a job. Only because when we make these changes.
Hey, Sean,
Yes.
what was the reason that we got those as lots as opposed to addresses? What was the reason we got those as lots as opposed to addresses?
Just, I would just send.
Lot numbers versus addresses?
There's no street limits. I mean,
No, they are assigned.
They're
Probably on
signed.
the plan.
Yeah, we just looked at.
Yeah,
and then
Sorry.
Yeah, we didn't put them in as addresses.
So no technical reason.
No, no
Just-
technical reason.
Okay, I need approval for the minutes that John prepared from August 24th.
So moved. Thank you,
I
John.
would not approve.
I will second.
Okay. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Let's see, we've got some money to release. First one that's on the agenda is John Casey out on Westlake Road. He wants $1,520 back for his project that he did down along the shoreline. I drive by there and John's been using it, so I guess it's done and it's been signed off by Jim Fletcher and by Chris Jensen, so short of us going out and making an inspection. So we're ready to move on it. Have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Nope, I was gonna second it, but I'll let you finish.
CPN number 19059 for a return of $1,520.
No, officially second. Apologies. Sorry, I'm like,
Okay,
snappy, let's go.
Mark was quick in the draw. Amanda was second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have one that is not in your, on the agenda. I leave it up to the prerogative of the board. If they want to act on it tonight. It's from Larry Wurgis. He lives at 4963 Waters Edge Drive. Again, a site stabilization project, so it's erosion sedimentation control. It is in the amount of $1,848, signed off by Chris and Jim. Want to go out and see it, or you want to spend more time thinking about it? We could certainly put it off since it was on the agenda, but if you don't feel there's an issue.
I will make the motion that we approve the release 2018.
Scott made a motion, we release the money. Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, for discussion,
Nope.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, how much was the money for?
$1,848.
I just want to make sure that I will verify, I sure the checklist. Documents approved.
He
Alrighty.
also had to, I think he had to move his driveway because of the issue on
Yeah.
the
Do we have
road.
to approve those as a matter of law? Do we have to approve those? Does the planning board have to approve?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So the planning boards, the rules, the procedures that have been adopted in the code require it to come to the planning board for what is all intents and purposes an approval / recommendation. Some communities, it comes to the recommendation, then goes to the town board for ultimate release. Here it goes to the fiscal officer after this, correct?
Yes,
It doesn't go to the town board. It goes from you guys right to the fiscal officer and then they approve it.
it does go to the town board if it's bigger than 20,000.
For the
For the
approval
approval.
of the full letter, credit, like to accept the letter of credit.
Right,
Or
but
not
to
to
release
release.
it, all of that comes through.
Planning board.
I actually do drive by them just to see that,
Good.
often because I'm curious, but if they, I'm making the assumption, and I'm trying to stop making assumptions related to how things come to us. But if they've signed off on it, have those folks that work for the town already, have they gone by? Or are they signing
Well, I
off
hope so.
expecting us?
So Chris Jensen's the
I know
code,
they're there all the time.
so
Yeah.
the code enforcement officer. So a lot of these type of releases are different than some of the other ones that we sometimes get from the bigger projects. These require code enforcement officer in order for him to issue his permits at the end of the day, he's got to validate that everything has been installed in conformance of the law, right?
For sure. I mean, C of O and everything is different. I remember when I did my project and
Sure.
it was different. The C of O happened independent of that.
Yes, because
That's
sometimes
right.
this comes after the
Sometimes it
fact.
does.
But technically, if he's signing his name, they should be going out there and inspecting it. Now, on the bigger ones, on the large projects, those require our signature as well. So then we sometimes go out and inspect it, or we're just really the procedural person and town staff does the inspection. A lot of times when we're out there doing the water main, because we do water and roadway inspections for the town on those larger projects, obviously the quantities that we authorize are validated with our signature.
I mean, it's coincidental, Mark, you brought that up because a recent committee meeting,
I was
There
just
was
gonna
one.
mention this.
our town manager said that he wasn't sure that the planning board's giving enough scrutiny to these releases. And I sort of said, well, if Chris signs off on it and Jim signs off on it and MRB, if they're involved, they sign off of it. I mean, I don't know what more we can do other than us driving out there and make an inspection. There
We
was
are-
one
we
situation.
qualified to make an inspection.
Well,
There was a situation where a buffer was to be put up and the
Landscape
buffer
buffer.
was of such a nature that it could be mowed. It was a switchgrass. It was around a solar. And so the applicant put the switchgrass in and the money was released. And then he mowed the switchgrass down to the ground. So it was, the fence is wide open. This is out in County Route 10, behind the storage place. So the place, you could see the place from County Route 10, the buffer was gone. So, a little concern of, okay, you released money for a buffer that didn't get installed. And I said, well, it did get installed, but then it got mowed down. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe a little more scrutiny in looking at these releases, just a little more, maybe some discussion. I know Tom Schwartz always used to say, well, the logical character signed it, so I guess we don't have a choice. But maybe we do have a choice. And I think if you see it on the agenda and you're concerned, you want to go out and take a look at it, certainly, do that. Especially if it's a landscape.
I was just gonna
Right.
say.
The landscape's
Look at
right.
that.
If it's a landscape release, I know
Let's
I'm
stash it.
I'm going around with Chris on Mustache out on County Route 10, that they were obligated to put in a rather detailed landscaping at their driveway and it had some nice shrubbery and sort of dressed the place up along County Route 10. Hasn't gone in, that's been 2 years, 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
The good news is the money hasn't been released, but still just getting the work done.
I mean, I asked because in other topics, the planning board is being used as the final stopgap, right? And many things is what I'm picking up, right? So we've had a discussion around some of the environmental things and some of the other places. I was doing more training over the weekend, making sure that I got it done for this year. And 2 of those sessions, it was stated during that day, which was kind of funny, and this is a trip to memory too. It's the planning board is the last one that gets to see this, so you guys really got to make sure you do this stuff. So all of that's in printing. And even one of the things that's going to come to us, I think, I don't know if we're going to have the discussion about it or not, but it becomes, there's a lot of hinging that everybody's passing the buck. Because, it's still, planning board has to approve it. So if I sign off on it, it's still okay. Because I don't make the decision, I'm just acknowledging that it exists. And then-
Yeah, I don't think Chris and Jim and definitely MRB just say,
I don't think
well,
they're
it's
passing
only
the
on the planning board, they,
Mhm.
but I think Chris You know, Chris is very diligent in his job and does a good job and it's hard when he has to be hard and easy going when he has to be.
It says, I mean, there's a statement on the release form. We have two different kind of release forms. One, it says, in the opinions of the undersigned, the construction and improvements appear to be, in significant compliance with the approved plans and associated permits. And then they're signing their name.
Yeah, I'm not questioning whether or not they're doing their job. That's not, I think more along the lines of Scott. They are
Sure.
much more qualified than me to make the decision that that was done the way it was supposed to be. I think the areas where it will become important are like RLD stuff. Because we put a lot of attention on RLD. If we don't go take a look at those, then shame on us. But what I've noticed is that often because of the process, they move it through the process. And that's why I'm asking the question. Do they, what I'm hearing is yes, so I'll let it drop, but it's just an example of not wanting to know that it's happened.
Fair question.
Or that it's.
Totally get it. And I 100% support that. I mean, I get landscaping is not, you know, Chris isn't here. He's not hearing the dialogues that the board has on with the applicant about the importance of putting X, Y, and Z in.
Right.
And a lot of times the surety dollar amount that we get doesn't always specify what type of tree or planting is going in there. And so it goes back to the plans, and then sometimes the plans change because I can't get that tree. I'm getting this tree. Well, maybe the height or the mature height changes. Hence the reason why it is important, I think, the board, at least on the landscaping ones, do, you know, take a look at, because, you know, you guys weigh heavily on these landscaping plans. Want to make sure you're getting what you, or at least ask the question, what happened? Why is this different than what we've authorized?
In the RLD, especially with your shoreline guidelines, and we spend a lot of time putting requirements on certain landscaping to be part of that, and I go out and look, make sure after it's done, because you know, there's a lot of
Well, I
time and effort put into it.
I screwed up on one of our projects on East Lake this year because I
Off the record.
well, I missed it, right? There was a tree that was taken out that they never told us about. It was never on any of the plans. And I knew it there because I went by it every day. And when I got here, it was like, okay, it's not there. Sure enough, I go back through.
It's there.
It's there. Nobody wanted it. The neighbor must not have wanted it either. Since everybody agreed, except we weren't given all the information. That's all. So I say I screwed up. I don't mean that I made an error in judgment in my
You brought it to
decision.
our attention. Well, which is the reason we go out and visit sites like this. So I think as far as, not to call the meeting, I don't want to get out of here. No, but I think obviously the recommendations of the committee, ACB, the Ag Committee, I don't think they're just saying, well, let's let it go because the plan.
No, for sure.
So pick it up.
Right,
Well, no,
I think if anything, it's more the other way
But
now.
more importantly to me is this topic that I keep bringing up about our other committees and boards that come to us that make a recommendation that because somebody else gave a variance, and then we just happen to be the last one, specifically when we get into the variances and everything that's happening with
No,
those.
that's another.
I mean, that's another topic for another night, but that's why I'm asking questions, Chuck, because I see more and more of that happening. And I just want to make sure that I understand the process.
Well, I think the process is going to be changed. Possibly at some point, like while you're looking at it.
Well, we're looking at.
Because the other great meeting that the notes aren't as great as John's is PRC. I love that meeting. There's nothing that comes out in the minutes of that meeting that capture what is happening in that meeting. I mean, that's,
Yeah, when I take a bite of a donut, John puts it in.
no, I mean, it's a great
Right out
way
of
to
the-
watch the videos of the PRC is awesome because it tells
Verbatim,
you,
yeah. That's good. All right,
We spent hours here.
moving along. So we took care of the releases. Lance, you tell us about the CUNA
Oh, sure.
resolution. That's the next thing up. It's under other business. You have in front of you a secret resolution.
So-
And
Yeah, so the purpose, my understanding is that in my draft resolution that you guys ultimately reviewed as part of the application and approved, the acreage that I had in the first whereas paragraph, and then it was carried out in every single resolution for, I believe it was identified as lot 3, was incorrect. I think our original one had it at 18 acres, and it's supposed to be 12.193 acres. So the applicant, after they receive their approval, the last couple of days, come to the town and say, hey, we need this corrected because that's not a correct identification of our acreage. So the question that staff has is this an amended review? That's typically how we would present it to you. And that's what this would be. But I think really it's just an error in the resolution that needs to be voted, agreed upon by the board to make the correction. And then I just reissued the old resolutions that were previously approved by you guys with the correct acreage. And so this resolution, if agreed upon, we don't need to do. It's just, you've already acted on all of
For
them.
the record.
We're just making the correction that lot 3 be changed to 12.193 acres.
You want to vote? You just. want
I think that as long as
consensus?
the board
You're all
consensus is
okay.
good, voted on the application, I'm bringing it to your attention,
I'm fine.
and I'll make the change. It's already gonna have you guys voting on it, but it's voted on based on that change.
I'm correct.
I agree. with
So
that.
the minutes
So the board
reflect it.
acknowledges that
Thank
there's
you.
a change of the resolution. in regard to lot 3. John, are you okay with how the minutes should read on that?
And then that way, the history would show that if you have a project, there really is no project change, it's just an error in the resolution.
Okay. Thank you. Referrals from town board, we got a referral last night. Shauna, do you want to?
Yes, we
Just give
have
us an
a referral from Fidencia Associates for to enact the mixed use overlay number 1 district in the industrial zone up by airport, off of Airport Road,
Next to the school.
next to the school transportation facilities.
Hmm.
So the nod came from the town board to move it to the planning board for an advisory report. We have 60 days to issue that report. Basically saying whether this project would, the merits of the project fall under MUO number 1 and ultimately it goes back to the town board for a rezone possibly.
And there's what's proposed. You know, conforming. to
There's
the comp
multiple,
plan and-
yeah, absolutely. I'll go through, I will do a report, my report or analysis for you. How it could or would not meet the parameters of the MUO, yeah, whether it's. Is that something we want to see there? Basically, do we need more residential? Do we have enough? Do we have enough? Do we want to eat up some of our industrial with residential? And there's some things we have to really think about.
Is that what they want to do? They want to go high density? Is that what they're looking for?
It's really not high density. It's what 24
Smaller lot,
single
single
family.
families.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you'll get a sketch plan or a plan.
We have a sketch plan, it's a conceptual plan. I'll present that with my analysis and then the board will ultimately make a decision. You send a report back with a recommendation, yay or nay to the town board. So you have 60 days to do that.
So we're looking at possibly our October 11th meeting.
Yeah, you're looking at that. So I just wanted to hash that out. with the
Seems
board.
to be a lighter agenda somewhere to this evening. So why don't we figure on, we discuss it and
On
possibly make a recommendation at that meeting.
10-11.
At 11.
I ask a question
Yeah.
about that before we get to that meeting. I'm thinking affordable housing. I'm thinking, is there anything that we can lean on to say, you know, X percentage or Y number we would recommend to be, you know, slated for more, however we want to define it, but I mean, could we include that in?
You absolutely can include that.
Okay.
It's one of our goals in our comp plan. So I'm gonna lean heavily on our comp plan.
Yes.
So
Okay,
I'll be sure to include that.
I will be prepared then to speak to that 10, 11, 22.
Forewarned. If, you know, one of his many plans that Ruckus had for that included some townhouses. Is that a part of this plan or
No.
it's all things?
Single family.
Well, again.
Mhm.
Right.
to do your thing.
I'll pull out all the stops, eh?
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so that'll be October 11th. No recommendations from the ZBA or the code enforcement. Special projects, any updates on it from anybody? I have nothing. I know Farmington had a
Yeah. they've been-
EV workshop, it was quite a discussion.
Yeah, they were more interested in the, well, I shouldn't say interested, they were more concerned about the potential hazards of it
Yeah.
than zoning related to it.
Yeah, fire.
So they wanted to understand that they've got a DC installation that should be happening in Farmington shortly. So that's why their interest is in place. It was really more of a meeting from the fire department to understand what they might have to deal with, is what it seemed like the town wanted the fire department to see that. But yeah, we're seeing more and more of it. I'm actually installing 12 units. Assuming it's approved, I'll be installing 12 units at my building in Pittsburgh.
No.
So it's continues to come. They're looking for more density around Ontario County in general.
So what hoops has Pittsburgh made you jump through, any?
None.
Just electrical. code.
You walk in, it's a permit, and it's the longer time frame is whether or not you want incentives from RG&E. Because they actually do pay for, and that's probably no, they did talk about that in Farmington too, and we talked about it too. They actually pay for the installation. So what turns, just in comparison, 12 units is about 80 or 90K to do. By the time you're done, it's about 15K. So as a benefit to your employees and to help
Wow.
the community, it's
Yeah.
almost a no-brainer, assuming they approve it.
Interesting.
Because they pay for 100% of these.
Wow.
In California is now, I heard a headline, yeah. No electric car charging or limited use, your thermostats are upper 70. Yeah.
It's crazy. So they made a mandate that you have to get rid of fossil burning cars. And then made a restriction on charging.
Really?
Oh, that happened within the past 2 weeks.
Is it due to the heat?
Well, the grid-
Demand.
Right.
I
the
don't
grid
know.
can barely take the
Yeah.
air conditioning.
Locally, our grid does, RG&E continues to assure that we have enough spawn.
Bring it on, they said.
Bring it on.
So
Because they can't.
Okay, well, it's coming. Hope they can
there's a
handle it.
lot of developers that are looking, I mean, I had a couple come to Farmington PRC and they're like, I'm interested in knowing more about how to, how do we propose doing that? Like, just propose, as long as you're open to doing it.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure a lot of the communities are,
Open
they're open to the idea here and there.
Well, I guess as a recommendation is that it's just, I know we've kind of taken the position that we'll continue to pay attention to it. And mostly we care about what's going to happen with the 2024 code that'll probably mandate it. We're going, whether we want to or not, we're going to start seeing these show up. So if we have an opinion on any of the things that we talked about.
So that project in Farmington, that it's a electric car sales station, which there isn't one around here that I'm aware of. And so they're having the point of the charging stations, they want to keep them open to the public. But at the same time, all their electrical cars, they're proposing to sell, you should really go test drive it, and go do all that stuff. So it'll be the first of its kind in this
Is that
area.
auto direct? Is it like-
Yeah, auto direct, no, it's not,
Auction,
USA.
96.
USA.
Oh,
I can't think of the name of the
Yeah,
road right
there's so
now,
many
but
of that.
it's right there, right before you get to Farmington. Those guys, as well as some other back-end dealer, is working on this proposed project,
Up to 96.
up right across from Tops.
Oh, that's what I was-
Okay. All right, training. We've got the session with kitchens on the 28th.
Yeah, the 28th is full.
And then you just gave us notice about the
This is the
Greater
new
Finger
one.
Lakes having their local government workshop at Del Lago on the 3rd of November. So if you're interested, sign up
Let
for
me
that.
know.
I wasn't real excited about the topics.
I thought some of them were good. The topics of the New York kitchen look great.
Yeah,
They do look much better.
They do.
Those are better topics.
You're not, Mark, you're not. Are you gonna
I'm
be out of
not,
town?
Must be a
I'll be remote. I'll be remote on the 27th, so this. So that you know that.
Okay. So speaking of the 27th, you're going to be zooming 27th? Okay. There are the applications I'm not going to read.
Big one is Popeyes.
Popeyes, yeah.
So they're tearing it down, the make down.
Oh,
So
yeah. tearing it down.
That's a nice building.
It's not that
It's
old.
never been used. Just,
Pristine.
I was just having the conversation, what can you do with that building? Like 2 weeks ago.
Open an annex.
do you know what it's sold for?
I don't.
No.
I don't think,
Probably conditional.
yeah,
Right,
yeah, absolutely.
Probably
I think they're
conditional,
leasing it, I'm gonna say that they're leasing the space for.
if they're purchased, probably conditional public improvements.
There's some interesting old setbacks in there that I was surprised to read. So it does, it will put us to a decision. for
Their
discussion.
signage is a lot.
That's a separate issue. right?
Oh,
That's-
yeah,
that's
you're
a
not, you
ZBA.
won't see it, but it's out of control.
Okay, so we got Popeyes, so that's the one hearing, we have to advertise, right, Kim? You send me the notice for the DM. And we got a Edgemere. Okay, there's sketch plan.
So this
For
is our
Parkside.
first form-based code formal application that's gonna start, the process will be starting. the
Okay.
sketch plan. And then
So we had the
town
PRC
board-
review of the sketch plan.
Yep. And then
You,
it
and you
comes,
sat down with them, staff has sat down.
we
with the
sit down with
sketch plan.
them,
So
planning
then
board looks at
planning
the
board
sketch.
goes over the sketch, and then it's up to them.
The
What's next
town
thing?
board will look at the sketch. And then the preliminary, then the actual formal plan will start.
Do we have to make any recommendations or just listen to their sketch?
I'll look at the law. I'm not sure if you have to do an advisory report, I don't remember.
Okay,
I did look
Yeah,
at
I
it,
don't-
it did not seem like there's a lot in their schedule.
they had a lot of detail. I remember.
There's
Yeah,
infrastructure details.
I wasn't here for that one.
Oh, that's right. We're flying solo. All righty, so that's the agenda. Anybody have anything else this evening? Any interest or uninterest to the board?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 6:41.
Wow.
Second, Danny.
Said you can't have a short.
It's never gonna happen again.
Never again.
Well, we'll make it up, second meeting in October.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
They're coming.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
coming. So it's Christmas.